Welcome into the Sports Arena. Yes, I am Michael Caratanudo and Eric Wilson. Um, that's why we're starting at 7:07 because I'm Michael Caratanudo, right? You all know this. What up, Will? Um, uh, Eric's uh, working, and I was out and about all day. Well, working, not just enjoying the warm Arizona sun. We know that. That being said, going to talk a little NFL draft. And what up, Will? You're out there. I see that. Absolutely. Hey, Marvin Harrison Jr. Will's is a Cardinal. Maserati Marv. Um, but we're going to talk a little NFL draft. Eric, is the responsible one of us. That's why I'm here. And I, hit stuff up last minute. But that's why it is great to have wonderful people who you can reach out to and join you. And the guy that always leaves the wonderful comments had a great trade proposal last week, Mr. Cortland Griffin. Cortland, man,
how's it going, Mike?
Man, well, now that you're here, I'm wonderful because believe me, I got a lot to say about the damn NFL draft. But I'm as you do too. I mean, look, a lot's been said so far, and okay, but overall, I'm glad you're here. What did you think of the draft in general? Because the funny thing is, remember when you put that trade up last week, and I said, man, no way that happens. But I did say I liked it. I said, man, I love the creativity, but I don't see Washington. I don't see the Bears doing that.
Right. I mean, it was just having some fun with it.
Right. No, but what did you think of the whole draft in general?
I think in its entirety, pundits and analysts aside, even myself, I don't think anyone had a particularly bad draft. Where there's some head scratching moves, yes. And we probably get into some of the teams that made some of those moves or lack thereof. But I think ultimately, this draft pretty much was what I thought it was going to be, right? A lot of depth, a lot of really good players, and a lot of players that should have been picked or could have been picked that didn't get picked and now are going to land, undrafted free agent as undrafted free agent gems on some of these teams. But overall, it wasn't a team that I really said like, man, that team had a really bad draft.
Yeah. The thing that annoyed me, and you know this from A being on here, but B always hearing Eric and I talk, is defense. Like the fact that the first 14 picks were offense, I get it. 6 were quarterbacks. So, I say to people, 8 of the first 14 were offense, but because quarterback, it's that guy. Although I mean the Pac-12, I know, Pac-2, the Pac-12 showed out in the first round. I will say that, but. The defense, it just cracks me up because the edge guys were the first to go. I thought the Chargers, and we always say, and I know you've heard me say, I thought the Chargers, in my opinion, given to you that the Chargers put up the best smokescreen because it said there's no way Jim Harbaugh was going receiver. When you have a guy like Joe Alton, I mean, granted, it was Notre Dame, but Michigan did play Notre Dame a few times, and Harbaugh saw him obviously up close, right? So right. I'm with that. I mean, I thought it was crazy if the Cardinals would have traded. I think, the whole Michigan-Ohio State rivalry aside, Cortland, I thought it would have been real hard for the Chargers to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. if, for some reason, the Cardinals just got that ridiculous trade. But let's get to Michael Penix Jr. because you know me. I'm on record, like, haven't seen him play live well, 3 times altogether when he was in the Pac-12.
Right.
But watching him just play in general, watching Pac-12 games, like, and you heard me say it before, Cortland, when we've all talked, like, you can't coach that kind of accuracy. Yeah, you can fix mechanics and you can get somebody to be in a better window and zone, but this whole thing that it's, and in this day and age, I've said to Eric before, I'll keep this short, like, yeah, I think it is respect. If I'm your quarterback, Cortland, I would hope you would say, hey, just a heads up. It's not really a discussion, but it's more so a courtesy heads up. Like, if he is there, we're going to draft him. They signed Kirk Cousins. He got his money. We don't know if he's going to stay healthy. And I said all along, I like JJ McCarthy. You heard me say it, but Michael Penix Jr., man, you can't coach that accuracy. And he battled back from so much. Like, I get the injuries are kind of that light, like we were talking about last week, that flashes. But dude, I love the pick for the Falcons. Like, if you're going to truly draft in this day and age, and they've talked about it at least the last 10 years, I mean, easily the best available on your board. Who do you have as the best available? And if that's who Atlanta had, man, good for them.
So I come from a different lens, right? I think ultimately when you're drafting in the top 10, you're looking for a guy who's going to come in and make an immediate impact. And in certain situations, you're looking for a guy. If not, he's not going to make an immediate impact. He's at least within the next 2 years going to be a integral part of the team moving forward. My issue with the pick at 8 is Michael Penix is not going to start for at least 2 seasons, right? At least 2 seasons. He's not going to play, barring an injury by Kirk Cousins.
That's what I was about to say to you. I was going to say, wait, let me ask you, if Kirk Cousins, coming back, look, and he's a Warrior, and I'm not like Eric. I mean, I know, like, we razz, but he is not a Kirk Cousins fan. You know that too.
Right.
But coming back from an Achilles, to me, it's different than coming back from an ACL, because they always say, that first year on the ACL, no matter what position you play, you can see, okay, they're there. It's that second year back where those guys get that full explosiveness back. Achilles a little bit different, and he's a quarterback. But go ahead, go on.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, barring the injury, right? He's probably not going to play the first 2 years. My issue with the logic behind it for the Atlanta Falcons was this. What have we been saying about the Atlanta Falcons, or at least, most of us draft analysts have been saying about the Atlanta Falcons for the last 4 to 5 years, right? You guys need a defensive, or the Falcons need to get a defensive captain. You need that guy on the other side of the field that can run the defense or make that splash play when you need it. And I said this before on a couple of different podcasts and on a couple of different social platforms, where you missed out, right? You got Kyle Pitts, which was a great pick. It was a sexy pick. It was a pick you needed at the time. Arthur Smith was a tight end guru, and it just made sense for the team. But you missed out on Michael Parsons in that draft, who many thought should have been taken at number 4. And many, you can argue
he should have been taken where. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry.
Right. But I'm saying, like, many will argue if you
100%.
redrafted, right? If you
100%.
redraft that draft, he's taking it. He's probably going to Atlanta or somewhere else.
All I'll say to you on that is actually, and obviously the great late Alex, our brother, him and I went back and forth on that, but because and me leaning defense, I was like, man, I know I would probably lose out in the Falcons room, to your point, because I'd be saying, like, there is no, I would come at it fair, even though I want defense. Corey, I said that Alex and I were talking about this, and I said I would come at it fair. Yes, I really want Micah Parsons, but it is so tough to not take that freak in what Kyle Pitts can be.
And so I said this year, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, this is your year, right? This is the year where it's a deep draft and you can go get some guys. And though they addressed it in the second round, third round, and fourth round following, right? And in my opinion, maybe they got a little overzealous with the defensive line picks. But
okay, wait, let me ask you that, because you're bringing up a great point. And I was just going to say to you my next thing, but you led right into it perfectly, Cortland, because you're a freaking genius and I'm not. But you get Michael Penix Jr., okay, your quarterback. Then they take Rook Oronhono from Clemson, defensive tackle. You get Braylon Trice, a kid I love from Washington. I think, I always, find it funny to call somebody, that's 6'4", 245 pounds, undersized. I mean, his speed is there. And it cracks me up, like in the NBA, side note, like when you're calling somebody 6'4" short, Cortland, I mean, I'm sorry. I know they're not 6'10", but how is 6'4" considered short? But again, I digress. So they get Trice out of Washington. Then they go to Brandon Dukes. I'm with you on that. I like the kid. Dorless, pardon me, Brandon Dorless. I like the kid from Oregon. JD Bertrand, you go linebacker. And look, they did struggle on defense last year. It wasn't pretty, and you said that. So then you go with Jace McClellan, who I thought, okay, a running back. Wow. Because especially after Algiers and you have Bijan Robinson.
Right.
But look, the Michael Penix Jr. pick, I'm sitting there not just because I'm a fan, but having watched him, and if I have to break it down like I told you, Cortland, I can't fault that pick. But you take another running back who could be a special teams guy in the 6th round when maybe you could have went, like you said, and then they go Casey Washington at receiver, and then another defensive tackle in Zion Logue. But
yeah,
the Jalen McClellan, and again, I love running backs. You've watched the show. You've been on here with me.
right.
If it's the guy, Bijan Robinson, to me, it was like I'm not saying he's Saquon Barkley, but that's the Saquon Barkley pick for the Giants to me for the Falcons. Like you absolutely crushed that pick last year. But you look at that thing, and okay, you're saying overzealous on D. I say they struggled. I think they got guys that can plug and play in there.
Right.
But
the reason I say overzealous, is I think it was an overcorrection. And in a way, and this kind of goes into why I was questioning the Michael Penix pick, because you on the board at that time, you had Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, Jarrett Verse,
right.
I mean, the list goes on and on of the edge rushers and interior defensive linemen that you could have picked, especially with and also corner, right? You could have picked a corner at 8, and no one would have batted an eye if you had picked a Kenyon Mitchell, or Terrion Arnold, or Nate Wiggins, right? Maybe questioning the positioning as far as like how high the pick was, but no one would have questioned why the logic behind picking it. I think Rukaroro is going to be an amazing player at the next level, right? He has 3 technique ability, right? Can get to the passer from the interior. Good run stopper. Maybe puts on another 5 to 10 pounds to kind of help anchor in the NFL. But I think that's a good pick. Braylon Trice, another guy who I think the tape is better than the workout, and the tape says this is a Pro Bowl caliber player at his peak. At his floor, he's a steady presence on the front.
And to your point, real quick, Cortland, playing next to Aurora, that's why I understood the Trice pick even more. But people were still hung up. Like so many people are still hung up on Michael Penix Jr. I'm like, you realize you just put a guy in the middle in Aurora. Again, growing pains. We know it's the
Grady,
NFL.
They still have Grady Jarrett.
Right,
there.
Exactly.
So, and then that's where I kind of got hung up. I was like, I get the 2 picks of Trice and Rook, because Rook can slide over to a 3 technique, and then Braylon Trice can slide over to a 3 technique as well, or play stand-up edge rusher.
Yep.
But then JD Bertrand, which I get it, right? JD Bertrand, he's an off-ball linebacker, plays very well, plays, man on fire, head on fire kind of linebacker. Like him. But do I think he's a starter day one? No. Do I think he can, kind of develop into that? Yes. So he's a special teams guy. You got him in the the 5th round, which is not high, but in this kind of draft, that's a premium pick.
100%.
And then Jace McClellan and Casey Washington were kind of luxury picks, and for a team that I feel like can't afford a luxury pick. You're in a tough division, regardless of how it looks on paper.
Right.
You're in a tough division. The Panthers got better. That wide receiver room is young, but it looks promising. They got better on the offensive line. They're going to get better on defense. So that's somebody to chase. Little brother's chasing. Is coming up the board. Tampa Bay won the division last year, and they got better.
Right.
And then, New Orleans, despite what it looks like, what it looked like on paper before, after the draft, it looks like they got better as well. But Means is a name that I want people to listen for and watch for because of what he can do on the outside. But we'll probably get to that later. So then, your last pick, round 6, is Zion Logue, who's a Grady Jarrett clone. My question is, where are all these guys going to play? Right? How are these guys going to fit? And I mean, Raheem Morris is a defensive genius. But it kind of, like I said, I'm kind of remiss to say that you missed out on another edge rusher where you could have got Dallas Turner. He fell into your lap, and it was like, pick him. He's the guy. He's there, and you pick Michael Penix. So, like I said, if I could be wrong, and I'll be the first one to say I'll eat a big helping of humble pie and a lot of crow if this Michael Penix pick pans out, because in 2 years, if this kid comes out and he's the greatest, who I had him pegged as the best pure passer in the 2024 class. If he is that, and he turns into because I had him at his ceiling an all-pro top 15 quarterback. if he turns into that, then I'll eat a lot of crow, and I'll be the first person to say it, right? But if he doesn't, if this pick turns into, let's say, Kirk Cousins plays, and it's like, dang, he's playing so well, I cannot cut him, even though I have Penix, and let's say you have to do and Mike, you would know this. This was before my time, but you would realize when they had Brett Favre on the roster, and they had to trade Brett Favre away. Hey,
man, I was a little tyke. I didn't even know Brett Favre. I was watching football, and then they said Brett Favre was a Falcon one day. I was like, wait, Brett Favre was never a Falcon. And then they're like,
you forget
from there, but
right.
Hey,
but
man,
this is
you can even go back to before that when I wasn't around when and this is what started the curse in Tampa Bay when they got rid of Steve Young and he went behind Joe Montana.
Right. So like this could easily swing one of those two ways.
100%.
Right. It could swing into a situation where this kid turns into the next coming of, put all pro quarterback here. Right. Or he could be traded away because Kirk Cousins is outplaying the duration of the contract that they thought he would. So
right. I mean, and look, Kirk Cousins' money is locked up basically it's for 2 years. I mean, after next year, they
owe him pennies.
Yeah, they owe him if they release him, which again, and he's going down there. And look, it's a business. You got $100 million. I don't want to hear any player, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers or hell, Cortland, even if it was Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to hear you whine. You're getting paid. Yes, I understand. I'm not saying about the family aspect of it. You're right. Mm-hmm. The kids are in school and they have family. It's like, is dad just going and we're going to stay here because this is where they want to, like, I understand that. I'm not saying that, but when you're sitting there saying, oh, just because, you paid him, look, Raheem Morris is creating competition. I mean, the one thing that guy has done, I mean, look, you look at, I mean, a defensive guy is going to have that, like, and yeah, I mean, for the Falcons, I'll wrap it on this saying I'm with you, but the Michael Penix pick, look, if he sits for 2 years, all I go back to is, and I've been lucky enough to get to talk to Marvin Lewis before when he was at ASU as a consultant, talking to that man on the field. Cortland, side note, is always awesome, but Carson Palmer sitting for a year, Steve McNair, even though they were these high picks and people say you got to play him right away. Yes. Everybody knows Peyton Manning's story. Yeah, he did start day one, and he also threw 28 interceptions. And the famous story, talking to his dad, he's like, Dad, nobody is open. And his dad's like, no, they are open. The windows are just different. It's like one of those things. So for Michael Penix Jr., look, if he has to sit, if Kirk Cousins plays well this year and next year and he sits, if you're Raheem Morris, you have that guy. And then you still have another 2 years to see how he plays to pick up the fifth-year option, as you and I both know. So, look, overall, I like their draft. The only thing I'm with you, I mean, the defense, I can see what you're saying about the last pick, but it's your last pick there. And I'm not saying it's a throwaway because you're right. I mean, these guys will be playing special teams if they're going to make an impact, get in the defensive rotation. You would obviously think he could. That's why they're taking him. But if Michael Penix Jr., sits this year and next year after 2 years, I'm with you, man. This kid is going to come out just PO'd, not because he didn't learn anything or, yeah, he knows he has to earn it, but I'm with you. He could light people up. All right, since he's not here and it's going to be less painful to talk about, you brought it up. Let's talk about that team with another bird, the freaking Eric's Eagles. Because, Portland, you said his name, man, Mr. Quinyon Mitchell, and I wanted to vomit because I'm seeing offense. I'm like, dude, don't slide anymore. And at the 22nd pick, Quinyon Mitchell of Toledo becomes a Philadelphia freaking Eagle, man.
Yeah.
And then they go back to back. And I mean, Cooper DeJean, this kid had a hell of a career, a hell of a season. And you look at him as a player, it's like, oh my God. And yeah, that was one thing Philly got picked on for last year. Now, do I think both of them are going to come in and be all pro, no, not right away. No. But Quinyon Mitchell, I mean, that's a hell of a pick. And I do love how they went Pittsburgh Steeler on us and took Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Out of Clemson in the 5th round with their second of 3 fifth-round picks. Out of Clemson. But yeah, so I said, okay, Mitchell and DeJean, then you get Jalen Hunt from Houston Christian, which I was like, cool, man, I'm prepared for the draft. Never watched one Houston Christian game. I'm like,
that's some comments about that kid.
Okay, yeah, that's why that scouting departments all over get paid, and that's what they need to do. And then you get Will Shipley, had a running back. You feel, okay, you lost a running back, 4th round. I thought Shipley had a solid career. Onias Smith from Texas A&M. I thought maybe I thought there were some other receivers there. I'll let you go at that point. That if I took a receiver, I know it was the 5th round, but okay. Then, like I said, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Trevor Keegan, the kid out of Michigan, Johnny Wilson, a former Sun Devil, 3 former Sun Devils get drafted, but no Sun Devils, man. But they did sign undrafted free agent contracts. But Johnny Wilson out of Florida State, I mean, he came in as a tight end. They have him listed as a receiver, 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". I mean,
they got him at 6'4" and like
6. They had him at 6'6". But still, I mean, I'll say 6'6" with cleats on. That's fair. And then Dylan McMahon out of NC State, a guard, a guy that, if then their offensive line is going to look a little bit different, going to be a journeyman. But man, I mean, it pains. And like I say, I can say it easier with a lot less vomit in my mouth because you're here, not Eric. They had, I mean, that's a solid top 4 picks. And even in their 5th round, but that's a solid top.
And I'll say it right. This was more of a draft that you're going to see pan out in the future. I would say this is a draft that's going to age, and like a couple of these drafts will age like wine rather than anything else, right? It's a couple of these drafts where you're going to be like, man, like, is that guy going to play, or like, what's his impact? And then 2 years from now, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I see it, I get it, right? That, oh man, where did that guy come from? Well, they drafted him in 2024, right? He's just now getting this opportunity. When I look at this, right, Kenyon Mitchell, Darius Slay is getting older, right? It seems like just yesterday I remember watching it, sitting at home in high school, watching him at Mississippi State, and then watching his draft combine and just wondering like, where's this guy going to go? And him in Detroit and just his emergence and how good he was. And, and so now, he's older now. He's 10 plus years in the league. You got to replace him. James Bradbury has had an up and down career to this point, but he's also getting older. So it kind of makes you wonder where Keely Ringo comes in all of this. But they also have Isaiah Rodgers that they got after the Colts cut Isaiah Rodgers for the betting after the betting situation, gambling situation. He's now eligible to play. So now you're gonna have 2 exceptional man corners who are young, long, fast, and can do it at a high level to replace those 2. Cooper
totally space Keely Ringo is cool, because I mean, short story. I mean, this kid. I mean, he played high school ball here. I saw this kid in high school. I saw him. I mean, playing football was awesome. Saw him be part of a 4x100 meter state championship his junior year. I think they repeated his senior year too. But he's a kind of guy too. I mean, again, how these other 2 pan out. I mean, he could be that nickel. I mean, considering a lot of times you're playing with 5 DBs on the field anyway. He can guard that guy inside. You try and go with a speed guy inside. God, it pains me. Please, Philly, don't do that. Just leave him off.
He could be one of those guys who plays in like a 3 safety set, right? Yep. I always thought Keely was more of a safety than a corner coming out of Georgia anyway. And a lot of times, like the guy I'm about to talk about now, guys get away with playing corner in college that are actual safeties. Cooper DeJean is that guy, right? I feel like he got away with playing corner at Iowa. I think he's a safety at the next level, and it has nothing to do with his athletic prowess. It has everything to do with what it takes to play corner in the NFL.
Right.
You got to turn, you got to run, you got to be able to get your hands on guys, play through contact, right? Bump guys, and get your eyes around it. He just doesn't do that well when you look at his tape. But what he does do is when he faces the action and plays in like cover 3, cover 2 cloud, those things, right? Center field safety, he does it well. And he does it at a very, very high level. So I like that pick for them, right? Definitely if he's going to play the safety position.
Well, and he did that at Iowa too. I mean, it just depended on who they were playing. But I mean, against Ohio State, I remember them talking about just the way, like, they're almost kind of, it's like he's playing corner, but it's like he's playing that, like, the free safety, and then to come down and, I mean, again, and he does have the speed, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to go between, Mitchell and him, I think because safeties to me always got the short end of the stick. Cortland is saying, oh, I mean, and you're calling a guy slow that's running, maybe a 4.5 instead of a 4.3. It's like, Yeah, okay, not slow. Yes, we all get 4.3s, just that, eyelash faster than 4.5, but still, like, I think some free safeties at least, because you need that strong safety to come down in the box. I don't see him. I'm with you on that. I really don't see him doing that at this. Not that he can't, but
He would
yeah,
have to put on some weight.
I mean, because he's like six. I mean, height wise, 6'1", 203,
right.
decent vertical. I mean, solid vertical.
That's a free safety every day of the week.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and the fact, again, speed wise, like they're saying, because his recovery, he has that field advantage. Somebody like Quinyon Mitchell, who I mean, he can be paired with for a long time. I don't see that young man getting beat too much outside of his rookie year.
His recovery speed is ridiculous. But then I want to talk about the guy that you talked about, Jalix Hunt.
Yeah.
This team, Fletcher Cox.
Wait, hold on, real quick. Just for everybody that's watching that missed the NFL draft, he's a 6'4", 252-pound edge rusher from Houston Christian. I just want everybody to know, because, like I said, when I heard the name Cortland, I'm not going to sit here because I always tease, my teams. Oh, if they're drafting somebody, I'm like, I didn't watch one Houston Christian game in the last 5 years. I may have seen highlights of them, but not games.
So I just want to talk about something. So Jalix Hunt, this is why when I mentioned at the top of this segment that this draft class for the Eagles will age like wine, right? Rather than be immediate impact. So if you remember when they took Brandon Graham out of Michigan, right? He was a guy who they were like, oh man, we don't know, this guy's undersized, right? Like short arms. Right. Where is he going to play? And he's carved out a hell of a career for himself. Fletcher Cox just retired, right? And then you also lost Jason Kelsey, which, those are two big guys in the trenches that have been captains for this team, with the heart and lifeblood
locker
of this
room
team.
Guys. Like, it's a culture
locker room guys. Now Brandon Graham is also on the way out. You got to think, these guys, the NFL stands for not for long, and these guys carved out a way longer career than the normal guys should have. But Jalix Hunt, when I watched his tape, he screams Brandon Graham every day. Like, it's there, right? The size, the ability to play inside, outside, the ability to go get the quarterback, run guys down, the energy. It kind of, so this draft to me says I'm losing one. I lost one guy, and I got a guy who's, Jalen Carter steps into that spot. Yep. Jordan Davis steps in, right? Yep. So I got my middles. I got my middle guys. Brandon Graham, though, I got to replace that guy. And why wait when I got Jalix Hunt, who can learn up under him, has a very similar build, very similar, very similar skill set, right? Once Brandon goes, I got a guy who learned a year up under him, gets a year up under that guy to learn, and plugs in the next year. This defense is not going to miss a beat. I don't think it's going to skip a beat at all. And that's unfortunate. And
again, not to take a cheap shot at them because Eric's not here. I think they get better because, I mean, in that streak where everybody's talking about, oh, what's wrong with Jalen Hurts and the offense? It's like, dude, they're kind of getting, I mean, they're leaking a little bit on defense, as much as it, doesn't pain me, as during a season to say that. But I'm like, come on, man, if we're going to be fair, they're running the ball more. Nothing's wrong with Jalen Hurts. Yeah, okay, he had turnovers, but they ran the ball to help the defense out, especially that when they were, 10-0 and then 11-1, and they're like, the Niners kind of, and the Niners unfortunately did that to a lot of teams, as we saw, but they kind of exposed that the leagues weren't small.
They exposure weak. Yeah, they do what the Patriots did for so many years, and that's exposure weakest link, right? And make that your Achilles heel. But then like this draft, like I said, this draft to me, like you said, they pulled a Steelers move, right? And got the son of a guy who wore the uniform for a long time for them. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and as some people said, the axe is back, right? The axe returned. And Jeremiah Trotter is a very instinctive linebacker, smaller than his father, a lot smaller than his father was. But when you look at how they play the game, or how he plays the game, I should say, if you closed your eyes and you said, okay, I'm watching the tape, it's they're almost the same guy.
If you close your eyes and just you heard somebody, you'd be like, and if they weren't saying the names, just describing what the line, like, that's
the same guy. And the thing that the difference is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is a better pass cover, like a better, he's better in pass coverage than Senior. So I think, and that's one of the things. Like Nakobe Dean has been hurt, right? They lost a couple of linebackers. The linebackers were probably the weakest link of that defense last year, and so now you get a guy who was born and raised and pretty much bred from day one, from birth, right, to be a linebacker. And he's going to be beloved in that, in that midnight green. But then, like you said, I'm gonna get to like I said, the picks that I think make an impact early. Trevor Keegan and Dylan McMahon. I think McMahon, is going to probably make a difference as a rotational center. He probably play guard early in his career, but he's going to be a center, kind of fits in there somewhere. Jurgensen was handpicked by Kelsey to take his spot and be his successor. Right. So you needed somebody to kind of kick into that guard spot. And Keegan, I'm surprised he failed around 5, honestly. Right. I'm surprised that Trevor Keegan fell as far as
he's an offensive player. B, he's a lineman. So
right.
So a good one too.
And if you look at that Michigan, if you look at the offensive line that he came from, all of those guys are award winners. All of them. Like there wasn't one guy on that offensive line that didn't win an award or finish as a finalist for an award. So all of them are very good players. And so this just kind of fits the Philadelphia Eagles mold, right? Proven players, guys who know the ball, guys who know X's and O's and fit the culture. Blue collar, every one of the guys they got on this team are blue collar guys. Right. None of them are the sexy picks. Will Shipley, right? His brothers played. He comes from an NFL family, right? Jordan Shipley and those guys played in the league. So the NFL DNA is there.
Right.
Plays running back. Plays a lot more physical than his size would indicate.
Right.
Good pass catcher. He'll be a good change of pace guy, a good spell guy for Saquon Barkley.
He's literally a younger version of DeAndre Swift, and I love DeAndre Swift. So I'm not calling
a healthier version of him as well.
I mean, but DeAndre Swift, man, he stayed pretty healthy and racked up a lot of yards the last year and a half.
And then Anaya Smith, right? A guy who I think is going to end up being the wide receiver 3 on this team. So we're behind Devontae and AJ Brown, who both just signed extensions. So like when you look at, like I said, when you look at this draft, like I said, and Johnny Wilson. If you look at when the Philadelphia Eagles are at their best, they have a guy who can go get the football in the end zone, and that's what Johnny Wilson at 6'7". If he doesn't do anything else, he'll be a touchdown merchant. Right. He's just going to go up there and get it.
The thing with Johnny Wilson, too, is, I mean, under Mike Norvell, who, former Arizona State offensive coordinator, I just have to throw those in there because Eric's not here. So I got to get the mentions in. No, but under Mike Norvell, I mean, look, when I saw him practicing at ASU before he transferred when Herm Edwards was here, like, you see the length, you see, like, okay, the window, to get the ball. And it's like, okay, he bails and transfers. And I'm just like, damn, because, like, you can't, that's just, obviously priceless in the end zone. So that's one of those things where I look at Johnny Wilson and it's like, okay, but he can run those routes. And, I think a lot of times, I mean, I know he came listed to ASU, as a tight end. They have him as a receiver. It's one of those
6'7".
Yeah, 6'6", 6'7". I mean, whatever. Like, again,
he put on 20 more pounds, he could play tight end.
I mean, you can with his speed, though, I mean, I think you could literally, and his athleticism, the way you see him, he's vertical. I mean, cool, 6'7". I got a barely a 6 foot corner on me. Cool, just put the ball up in the air because the only way you're stopping me from doing this is if you interfere. That's it. Right. That's it. That's all you're doing. But hey, we're gonna go to break, but I wanted to read this too because I should have read it when you first came on because I was saying I was annoyed. But for those, just to recap really quick, and we got to get out of the break too. By the way, Cortland, out of the break too, we're gonna get to the Bears. I know I kind of started with the Falcons because of all the conversation, but dude, crushing it with Pac-12 players, but the receiver that fell to them, I was like, don't let them fall there, don't, and it did because, to your point, this guy who I'm about to mention, he gets to learn from a guy that I love, that I've loved. I know, again, people say staying healthy, but Keenan Allen healthy for a long time. That's a phenomenal guy to get to learn the NFL game from. But yeah, okay, so. All 14 first picks. Caleb Williams, obviously, quarterback. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. Or as for my guy, Gus Johnson, I love when he gets excited. Cortland, Maserati, Marv.
Yeah.
No, but Marvin Harrison Jr. right here to the Cardinals. Joe Alt, tackle. Malik Neighbors, Could have had Romo Doomsday Giants. And look, I mean, Neighbors is fast and this and that, but I think you said it last week. Pattern running, complete game. Like you can't get away from Romo Doomsday. But Malik Neighbors, it'll be good. Okay, then we have J.C. Latham, get another tackle out of Alabama. Michael Penix Jr., quarterback. Romo Doomsday, his teammate, to the Bears with Caleb Williams.
All right.
J.J. McCarthy, the Vikings trade up like one spot or two spots, whatever it was, to take J.J. McCarthy, which, again, it could work out. He's got Justin Jefferson. If they can't run the ball, a kid's going to get crushed. And then Olu Fashanu from Penn State, another awesome tackle. Love that kid. To the Jets. And then we get the Rams. Bo Nix, no surprise. That's a Sean Payton quarterback all day long. And I know he didn't – I mean, like people say, oh, well, 70% of your passes. I always love this excuse because Tom Brady never got that. Oh, well, a lot of it's like right at the line of scrimmage or those quick dumps. When Tom Brady did that, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, Cortland. But I'm just saying. Anyway, so we get Bo Nix to the Broncos. Brock Bowers, a phenomenal career. I know coming off injury, but Brock Bowers, tight end to the Raiders. Then you get Talisi Fuaga, yes, from Oregon State, who I saw play. I mean, I didn't think it was possible for a guy to get bigger between seasons when he was already that size, and he just seemed like leaner and bigger, and that's just nasty for the Saints who need offensive line help. Yeah. And then we finally get, of course, it's a Pac-12 party. We finally get Latu from UCLA edge going to thank you, Indianapolis, for waking up and starting the defensive run. Because then Byron Murphy, like you said, the second, I thought that was, I mean, look, Pete Carroll's not there, and that is a total Pete Carroll pick, kid.
He's still hanging around Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get, Dallas Turner, Amarius Mims, another offensive tackle, and then Jared Verse, Troy Fontanu, again, the guard from Washington, Pittsburgh. I hate saying the Steelers grudged it. They did too. Chop Robinson, an edge guy from Penn State. Miami needs a little bit of that. And then we talked about Quinyon Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr., Terrion Arnold. The Lions, again, need help in this. I mean, that was one of the things. And they get another dude that can –
it's right straw, too.
Yep, exactly. Jordan Morgan, kid out of down the I-10, that school down south. Yep. But he goes to the Packers, an offensive tackle. And then Graham Barton from Duke is center. Darius Robinson, the Cardinals, they came out of Missouri. I like that pick. And there was a few people here that were like, well, I'm like, no. Like, if you're going to draft these quarterbacks and all the rules are for them, you got to get there. Xavier Worthy, Chiefs fans, he is awesome. You didn't win the Super Bowl again. He can run good patterns. He's not the other receivers I mentioned up top, but he is the fastest. I love his talent. I'm just saying you got to be able to do more than just run down the field. Tyler Guyton, Cowboys. I do love that pick because, look, you lose Tyron Smith. Like,
they made a couple of picks that I think are going to turn it. And that's another – I want to talk about that draft too. That's another draft that's going to age like wine.
We're gonna get to the Bears and the Cowboys after the break, but then we have Nate Wiggins and then another former Sun Devil, Ricky Pearsall, going to the Niners again, crowding that receiver room. But it's not like he's going to step on the field day one and take over for Debo or Ayuk. And then Xavier Legette, another wide receiver out of South Carolina. So the dominated offensive first round is how to get that out there. But yes, on the other side, our guy Will Vogel will join us too. But we're going to talk Bears when we get back because, look, Caleb Williams, I mean, like we said, outside of I wish your trade would have happened because then I would have been like, dude, you and I are going to Vegas in July for the Pac-12 media days. You're coming with me to Vegas in July. If that trade would have happened, you can come anyway. I said Pac-12, Big 12 media days. I'm still hurting.
Man, yeah, I know.
But yeah, we'll talk Bears first, and then Cowboys, and then we'll go like just maybe other surprises, like other teams you think that, like you said, could age well. But we'll get to all that, Cortland and I, and then we'll have Will Vogel joining us as he comes in the circle. But so glad Cortland could jump on with me. Eric's at work. I know he'll see this, Cortland, but do not tell him don't overshare my compliments of his team. But we'll be back right after this.
connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
All right, we are back here. He is Cortland Griffin at the C Gritty. I like how you put on X. I got to give a shout out since you're picking on me for being cultured and knowing things, but I got to give a shout out to my guy Prince. So I always put I say you can follow me at Diablo00 on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, because when you log on to it,
It's
guess what?
Twitter.
You still have to put twitter.com.
Yeah.
No, but it's all good. But so glad you told me. All right, now we got our guy Will Vogel coming in who agreed with me. See, Cortland, I got to bring him on. He agreed with me too much. Plus, he doesn't fully pick on Eric's Eagles because he's smart. He knows where the bread's buttered. I can get away with it because Eric will just, ignore me. But Will Vogel joining us now. Thanks for jumping in, Will.
What's up, gentlemen? Thanks for the invite, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Eric's being responsible. And so I was like, well, I got to be responsible for this. And Cortland jumped on last minute. But yeah, we're talking for the break. So we're gonna go Bears. We're gonna go Bears now. And like I said, Cortland, so I gave you a minute. Will, you got an extra few seconds, a little bit to think about this. But I mean, Caleb Williams number one. Okay, no surprise. But then sliding down, like I said, Romo Dunze, and like I tell people, like I test aside, like Marvin Harrison Jr. all year. I'm like, for the last year and a half, like this dude's been the best receiver in college football, even though non-conference wise, like, when they say certain players, like they don't have depth of guys that can cover anybody like that, but he did the work. He's phenomenal. But Romo Dunze, I will say this, Marvin Harrison, the best, the Ohio State room, solid, but the Washington receiver room wasn't just Romo Dunze. Mm-hmm. Like Jalen Polk this kid's going to be a stud too. And we can get to him in a little bit, Cortland, but the Bears, I mean, look, yes, you need to protect Caleb Williams. Do I think Justin Fields, and I think last time you were on, we were way back, when we were talking about, where's Justin Fields going to end up? Like, I think he got the short end of the stick because they had nobody to protect him. But look, you want a clean slate. You want to come in. You want to get rid of him, or not that you want to get rid of him, but you want to start with something clean. You couldn't have done anything better to put Caleb Williams in a situation, like I said, with Keenan Allen now
and DJ Moore.
Yeah, right. DJ, and then Romo Dunze. So just, I mean, your thought of the first two picks for the Bears, but just overall what the Bears were able to do, Cortland.
I think this was a great draft for them. I think this is a franchise-changing draft for them. Like you said, Caleb Williams. I mean, they haven't had a quarterback. I think their passing records date back to like before my grandfather was born, like 70-something years, right? Like. They've never had a quarterback go for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in the same season. And I don't think they've had a quarterback go for over 4,000 or 30 at all in their franchise history. So, so like this is a guy who can change that alone, just the quality and the tier of quarterback play. And like you said, Roma Dunze, one thing that I asked him at the combine was, because of course I cover the Titans, so I was kind of being a little biased in this, but I asked him, I said, what would it be like going to a team like the Titans where you get to learn from a DeAndre Hopkins, right, and get to kind of with a guy who's a similar skill set? Well, the first thing that I asked him when he got drafted was, what is it going to be like being able to learn from a guy who has a very similar skill set to yourself and Keenan Allen? And the first thing he said was, it's going to be great because that guy's coming off his best season of his career, and I can't wait to pick his brain on how he's been able to stay in the league for so long and continues to get better. So that guy, I mean, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, and then you lose Darnell Mooney and you slide in Roma Dunze, and it's just like like this team just immediately got better on the edges.
Like,
and
then
I
will say this real quick to let you finish too, because you're making a great point. And to me, it is a guy like Odunze, like, yeah, these receivers come in, and yeah, in Arizona, look, Marvin Harrison Jr. could lead the team. When you lose a Hollywood Brown, people say, well, Hollywood Brown. The dude just did more, like I said to you before the break, than just run downfield. And again, I'm not saying Malik Neighbors can't do more. I'm just saying when I put the two next to each other, like film, like it's not just, it's patterns. It's, separation, or how are you when a guy's draped over you? And sometimes the refs, once in a million times doesn't throw the flag, making catches. But Romo Odunze is going to, that's my point. My point to you is Romo Odunze is going to have that learning curve from those guys, but also he can still have big numbers because less is almost more. If they want to shift coverage over to him, you and I, the three of us know, good luck, man, with Keenan Allen one-on-one downfield. Good luck.
Either or DJ Moore. But
yeah,
I kind of want to talk about their third round pick too, Kyron Amagaji, out of Yale.
Yep.
These Ivy League guys come into the league, and not only, of course, it's Yale's the Ivy League, right? They're smart as all get out. But
hey, you guys, when they start, I always said if I went to an Ivy League school, if I was trash talking in any sport, you know what I'd be talking to you about? Astrophysics, calculus, organic chemistry. I would just start spatting out things like that. If I just say, oh, you're
gonna give them a brain headache.
I'm gonna start talking organic chem and physics to you guys. Yeah. Like and people say, oh, I'm like, okay, I'm not making fun. We're like Cortland just said, they are very, very smart. But anyway,
to be able to go to Yale, Princeton, or any of those Brown, you name the Ivy Leagues, right? Harvard,
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, right. Yeah. You have to be smart and retain information. But this kid out of Yale, not only did you last year you drafted a tackle, a guy who's a right tackle, right? Amagaji's a left tackle. He's a pure left tackle.
Yep.
A guy who I thought had a lot of athletic traits that you would love to have in any left tackle. Gets to the second level very well. Good hand placement. His kick step is almost as textbook. If I had to show a video of how to kick step, I would show this kid. So he might not. I don't know if he's going to plug and play, but he's definitely going to make an impact.
He's got a good shot.
Right, he's got a good shot. So, but the only puzzling pick out of this entire draft was the fourth round pick of picking Tory Taylor.
I'm going to let Will get to that because thank you. Okay,
yes.
So Will,
Tory Taylor.
Yeah, Cortland laid it out. Tory Taylor, you only have 5 picks. Well, you're the Bears, and your first two, and
you want me to highlight those?
Hold on. The first three, you crushed it. And then in the 4th round, which you could have got him in the 5th round if you wanted to, I guess. You only have 5 picks, but you take Tory Taylor, a punter out of Iowa. Field position is important. We understand that, Will, but I mean that's it. Look, I'm puzzled too. I'm with Cortland, but your take on that, and then the rest of what the Bears did.
Well,
yeah. Why would you take a punter when you could get him with your last pick? Like literally, there's a bunch of punters and kickers on the board, and you're like, maybe this guy will be picked in the 4th round. Come on, man. Use them with your last pick. That's what the last picks are for. Punters, kickers, and special teams players. Come on, man. Like, literally, that's a waste of a pick. Not saying the guy's a bad player. It's just save it for the last round. You have a pick in. Because I guarantee you, no one else was going to pick that guy. Because when I saw that, I was
there's a few kickers and punters that time out. Well, there's a few kickers and punters that went through the 7 rounds. I mean, I didn't believe me. I look, kickers and punters are people too, because when people don't want to talk about them, but when they miss, everybody acts like they're a freaking expert. I'm like, you go try and punt, you go try and kick an extra point, even from put the ball on the 10-yard line.
They could have waited one more round.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, but they only had 1 pick. The one thing I will say to you, and Will, I'll go back to you on this then. Look, they had 5 picks, and again, they had number 1 because of the trades they made, but then with other stuff, they didn't inherit a ton of picks. I do like how they didn't really in this deep draft, which again they could have addressed more. Cortland, we're talking about O-line, defense. Look, their defense is gonna they got dogs over there. No matter what, it's the Bears. No matter who's coaching them, there's always dogs on that defense. I will give them that credit, but I I think the Bears not overreacting and trying to like mortgage like some of next year's picks, 2025, 2026 picks, and to get more capital in this, because look, the Cardinals had 11 picks, but since we're talking Bears, I mean, I do, except for the punter, I like that. Do you think maybe, to that case, then maybe they should have maybe tried to make a trade or two, see if they, drop a third or fourth next year to get maybe into the back end of the fourth or fifth this year?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, why?
Well, they did. They actually did with their last pick. So they only have 4 picks coming in. They traded back into the
so Austin
they traded back into the 5th round. Yeah, they traded back into the 5th round to get Austin Booker.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, they did do that, and I mean, it didn't cost them a whole lot, but
right.
I mean, you only have 4 picks because of the poor decisions that were
extremely poor. Yes.
Right. But I mean, that's another guy that I think, like you said, they have dogs on the defensive side, right? But Austin Booker has all of the ability in the world.
Yep.
And because of where he played ball at Kansas, the Jayhawks are not known for football. Right.
Well, I think the season they had 2 years ago.
Right.
2 years ago. Yeah. When they had the season they had 2 years ago, when they were winning, like a lot of those guys got put on the mat. And when you saw their defense, even though it's the Big 12 and they, good luck.
Look, they'll have a top 15 pick come off that team next year in Jacoby Bryant.
Yep.
But Austin Booker is a guy who I think has future All-Pro written all over him, right? At his ceiling. He has every pass rush move on the planet in his repertoire. He can play hand in the dirt, stand up. He can play speed to power. He can play finesse. He can play the run. He can do it all. So he's a very smart player. And to get back into the 5th round, to get that guy where you got him with the 144th pick, I mean, we'll talk about Buffalo later, but geez. But
well, we're gonna say Buffalo next week because we're getting up against it, and I want to go, and again, I want to go with obviously we're gonna finish this since Eric's not here. With my Cowboys,
first 2 picks real quick.
What's that?
For the Bears. Do you want me to go fast on the first 2 picks for the Bears?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So Caleb Williams, we knew presumptively was going to be the number 1 pick. We all knew it coming in. Everyone knew Caleb Williams number 1 pick, and I agree with you and Cortland. I love the Rome Odunze pick because you got him in a room full of veteran wide receivers with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and what a group to learn from. 2 guys who have played the game, who have a lot of experience, and you can pick their brain in practice and film study and learn from those guys because you realize if Keenan Allen's going to be covered, then you're going to be open. If DJ Moore is covered, then you or Keenan's going to be open. So he's going to learn. He's going to love picking that brain of those guys.
Yeah, because to ease him in too. I mean, look. I mean, yeah, he played on the outside, and yeah, I mean, you can motion him. Rome Odunze has no problem. I mean, going in motion, but you can line, and again, not that the play wouldn't be for him, but I mean, you could line Keenan Allen up in the slot, I think, to kind of gradually get Rome Odunze into that. Yeah, you go 3 wide. I mean, look, if you were to go trips to one side and you have, Allen, Moore, and Odunze standing right there, look, I get there's talented corners, but guess what? Like you and I talked about earlier, there's some safeties that ain't keeping up with all of them.
No
and
way.
then you got Cole, and then you got Cole Kmet on the weak side.
Exactly.
So
it's him and Justin, and that's the one thing I think Bears fans, they're happy, but you got to be a little when you see Justin Fields' goal because get traded. You think, man, like 2 years ago when they gave him time, like Cole Kmet was blowing up, and then this year, like it started out slow, but Justin Fields moving around, it's like get the ball to Cole Kmet and he get downfield. So yeah, the Bears, like the division's going to be obviously tough because the Packers, show what they do, but I'm with you. I mean, I'm excited to see. I mean, Bears fans, like you said, if they get a 4,000-yard passer, like, man, Chicago, that city might shut down for a week. They might have to build a new stadium faster because they tear the old one down just in celebration. But let's get to the Cowboys because since Eric's not here, I can say this: we saved the best for last. So, they take Tyler Guyton in the first round. Love the pick, kid out of Oklahoma. I mean, long. There's some work there, but Oklahoma lineman, it's one of those things throughout. Like I said, again, Same thing. The Bears with defense, no matter who's coaching the Oklahoma line, it's just nasty. Then they take Mershawn Nealand out of Western Michigan. I'm like, okay, saw that. But then you get Cooper Beebe, again, another guy out of Kansas State. Deuce Vaughn. Maris Liufau from Notre Dame, big fan of Notre Dame linebackers just in general, but watching this, seeing what this kid did the last few years, I thought third round, I was like, okay. I'm like, that could actually pan out to, having a real linebacker on the field. And then Kalen Carson out of Wake Forest, another corner, Ryan Flournoy out of Southern Missouri State, and then Nate Thomas out of Louisiana, and then Justin Rogers, a defensive tackle out of Auburn. I thought they might go offensive line right there. I know it's the 7th round. Guys got, longer shot to make the team, and you're thinking special teams. But, Cortland, your overall thoughts of the Cowboys draft?
Another draft that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones strike again. Like, how do they continue to do this? You lose Tyron Smith, you get Tyler Guyton. He's going to plug in at your left tackle. Marshawn Nealand is going to be a guy who develops for another year or two, right, and becomes a good edge rusher, edge player coming off that defensive line, that defensive front to help out Micah Parsons. Cooper Beebe is an all-pro market. He's an all-pro guard. He's a guy who I had a first-round grade on, and they got him in the 3rd round. How do you do it? I don't know how he fell that far.
Yeah.
It still baffles me to this day. Like, how did a guy who, you want a guy who's nasty, who can do it all, scheme fluid. He's a first round guard every day of the week.
I know Deuce Vaughn was probably, even though he's not, playing a ton, but Deuce Vaughn was probably pounding on the desk saying, hey, telling his dad, like, hey,
that guy, right? That guy.
I saw him in front of me.
Right. Kalen Carson, another guy that I liked a whole lot, plays in phase, out of phase. He kind of reminds me of Trayvon Diggs. So
really?
Yeah,
okay.
Like he's a very headsy player. He's going to take a lot of gambles. He's going to get beat some, but he's going to make more plays than he gives up. Ryan Flournoy, blast from the past here. He's a faster version of Dez Bryant. He's nasty. Yeah. When it comes down to it, he can go get the jump ball, 50-50 ball, strong hands, good route runner. It's going to make a lot of plays. Nathan Thomas is going to be a good depth guy. Possibly can plug in at guard some if you need him to. And then Justin Rogers is just going to be a depth guy at the defensive tackle to kind of give you some rotation. The only pick that I kind of questioned here was the Maurice Liufau pick. And the only reason that was is because I knew that Zeke and his representation had been in Dallas for like 4 days
right.
up to that point. So it was kind of a foregone conclusion that Zeke was going to be a Cowboy once again. But I still felt like Braylon Allen is sitting there, or one of those guys is sitting there. Get the running back of the future.
Allen,
Deuce Vaughn is. Ray Davis is still sitting there, right? So it was just like, man, like I know Zeke is the guy. I know you love Zeke, Jerry, but you got to plan for the future. And that was the only pick that kind of made me scratch my head. But like you said, you guys have gone through how many? Leighton Vander Esch is probably going to retire, or if not, if he hasn't retired.
He did retire. Yeah, he retired.
So, he retired. You had the Wolf Hunter or whatever his name was, that didn't last very long. Jalen Smith, right? He didn't last very long in a Cowboys uniform. You guys have had linebackers kind of come and go in that Cowboys uniform, and this guy has staying power. He stayed healthy. He's been a long-time starter at a school that just knows how to make linebackers. I don't know what it is about those gold helmets and those Nittany Lions, but they shout out to Eric, right?
Oh yeah.
They know how
nuts, man. Because I always mention that
right.
Sean Lee, when Sean Lee was healthy, you had that linebacker stability. You get Micah Parsons, and if Vander Esch would have stayed, because Vander Esch was, look, I'm not saying the Packers wouldn't have won that game in Ram, but the teams wouldn't have been running over the Cowboys if Vander Esch was on the field last year like that. But yeah, no, linebacker for Penn State. That's why I was wishing one of those edges from Penn State would have went to Dallas too in the first round, but
they know how to make them. I mean,
Yeah.
Bertrand, like the guy we talked about earlier, JD Bertrand also came from Notre Dame, so they just know how to make linebackers. But LaFau is more of the pass coverage guy. He kind of drop back, has that tweener body, right? Moves sideline to sideline, and it's going to hit you too. And he's a leader, and I think that's the biggest thing about him. So you guys got a linebacker for the long haul. Running backs are devalued, and I get it if you're moving more into the future. But I still think a running back would have been nice to kind of complete this draft and round it up for you guys.
I'm with you on that. All right, Will, let me ask you this then. Will, you take this angle. So obviously Zeke signs the 1-year deal today. And like Cortland was saying, I mean, look, it's you. Guyton, I mean, can play left tackle, but if you want Tyler Smith at left tackle, Guyton can play right tackle too, I think. Or if you put Tyler Smith next to him, because he played guard too, you put him and Tyler Smith on that left side, and you still have Zach Martin at right guard. I'll take a lot of third and shorts.
And BB also can play tackle.
BB can play, yes, exactly. But let me ask you this, Will. Will, answer this one. So they signed Zeke, and like we said, the offensive line. Okay, are you with Corbin? Would you have looked for? I mean, not look for it because there's a few in there, but a running back to take, even though, like you said, Deuce Vaughn might be smaller. What's that? Why do I always forget his name? I always forget. Either way, the other running backs there, but I mean, you have a shot to take a running back. It's late or in the draft, and there's still, again, I mean, we're talking about the Eagles before. I mean, you get, teams got fourth, or Atlanta fourth, fifth, or got a fifth round, sixth round running back, and it's like, wow, okay. But Z comes back, you get the 1-year deal, offensive line. Maybe you could have added another receiver, or would you have went receiver, or would you have went running back there for the Cowboys? And are you with Cortland? Do you see this kind of draft aging again well for Dallas?
I'm with Cortland real quick. I love Cooper BB. I agree with Cortland. I watched this guy's film. This guy was obviously a first-round talent, maybe early second round if he were to fall. But getting him in the third round is one of the steals of the draft. This guy is going to, and I agree with Cortland wholeheartedly, is going to be an all-pro guard. This guy is
real quick. I did like how the Cowboys X or Twitter put out reunited, and it feels so good. I'm like, what are they talking about? And there's a picture of BB and Vaughn, like, kind of like headbutt after a Vaughn touchdown. Awesome. Sorry, Will, but anyway,
you're
cool.
good.
But go on.
That's awesome. No, BB's a stud. BB's going to be one of the steals in the draft. We're going to be talking about him for years. We're going to talk about how many games he played, how many consecutive snaps and stuff. The guy's a stud. I like Nealand a lot. I think he's a stud on the defense. And then Guyton, man, pair him with those already solid O-linemen like Martin and those guys. He's going to love being in that O-line room because he's going to be one of the guys. But what would have I done? I would have won running back. There's two guys I would have gone with, Corum or Allen. And Allen, I'm surprised how far he fell. I thought he was going to be between a third and a fifth round, but he fell far. And I thought he was a stud at Wisconsin. And yes, you need someone to complement CD in the long haul. But I think personally, what if Zeke never came back? Then you have Deuce Vaughn, and then you have a whole issue with who's going to help Deuce Vaughn with the carries, because Deuce Vaughn was average last year behind Pollard. So I would have definitely gotten a running back just as a safety precaution if Zeke didn't come back.
Fair enough. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys both this, and Will, you can go first. So the player, and it could be anybody, but the player that you were you're most excited to see, like, got drafted, or maybe where they got drafted, and the team that you feel, outside of the ones we talked about, but the teams that you feel so like one or two, like two players that you're you're looking forward to seeing playing and where they got drafted. Maybe surprised, maybe didn't. And the one team or your two teams that had the best draft. Go, Will.
The two players, that's tough.
I know. That's why I ask it, because I'm a
Oh, that is tough. I'm not going to go Homer. I'm a Clemson fan, so I'm not going to go Homer.
Oh, go Homer, man.
I'm excited for Trotter. I'm excited for Trotter because, like Cortland said, Nakobe Dean is injury prone. So hopefully he can slide into that defense with Jordan Davis in that solid Eagles defense. I think is it Hassan Reddick there too? I believe.
Yes. No, they
He's in
traded
New
Hassan
York.
Reddick to the Jets.
He's in New York. Yeah, he's in New York.
Okay, so he's in New York. Yeah, if I had to say, I would love to see Trotter play well. Yes, he's smaller, but the guy, I've watched film on him because I'm a Clemson fan. The guy's in the backfield almost every play, and he's hungry for the ball. The other guy I'm really excited for is I'm going to be another homer, Xavier Leggett. I'm a Panthers fan. This guy is a burner. This guy has been compared to DK Metcalf. This guy is a gunner on special teams. He could benefit with these new kickoff form rules for sure. And this guy's, yes, Bryce Young had a lot of O-line issues, but if we can sure enough this O-line, this is going to be Bryce Young's favorite target because last year Thielen was a number one as opposed to being his normal slot receiver. So he got more catches than he was used to, and he got overworked personally. So Xavier Leggett gives them another weapon. As for teams that won the draft, I low-key think the Commanders had a really solid draft. I really do. They picked up some really good pieces. Can't remember them offhand because it was a long draft.
It's Washington. Nobody wants to remember them anyway. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud, Cortland? I'm sorry.
And then the other team, I think that had a solid draft. All but one pick I didn't like was Detroit because you got Simo Vaki, you got Terrion Arnold, you got Christian Mahogany. Yeah, so I've got Detroit in Washington. But, Michael, just to make you happy, I got Dallas as my third choice.
You don't have to do that, but that'll make Eric happy, so.
For sure.
All right, Cortland.
Eric's like, ban him from the show right now. Pull the
man. So my first guy, I'm gonna go to the East Coast here. Javon Baker, man. I'm excited about him. I've been on the Javon Baker train for a long time. I thought he was a number one receiver in this draft. A number one, right? Not the number one. That's before people jump on my back. I thought he was a number one guy in this draft, a guy who's going to make some noise in the league. And the fact that they got him, the Pittsburgh Steelers, not the Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, but the New England Patriots got him where they got him was amazing. And then another guy that I'm excited to watch, man, Eric All, a guy who was at Michigan and then ended his career at Iowa. Yeah. An athletic freak of a tight end, man. He goes up, he plucks it. And he can, if you watch his tape, he just makes guys miss in the open field and gets into the end zone.
You think he's going to be like a Laporta?
He could be. And here's the thing with what they have in Cincinnati right now. He's going to have he's going to have a hell of a career. Honorable mention in that is going to be Jalen Wright in Miami, man. I think he's. That kid out of UT, he's ridiculously electric. He already goes to a loaded running back room, but this is just clearly Miami says we want speed, and they got more. They want to got more speed. Now, the two teams that I think won the draft, I'm gonna go ahead and just stick with it. The theme here, New England. New England got their quarterback of the future in Drake May. Despite what people think of him, I think that kid's going to come in and be amazing. Not only did you go get Drake May, but you got two wide receivers that can come in and be solid contributors early.
Where did Jalen Polk play, Cortland? Where did he play?
Oh, yeah, Washington.
Oh, okay. He was in that receiver. Okay.
Yeah, so he was here, believe it or not, he was one of the forgotten like Jalen McMillan got a lot of hype in the pre-draft process.
Right.
Of course, Rome Odunze, rightfully so. But Jalen was kind of the forgotten, he was the third piggy, right?
And McMillan, look, McMillan, Polk, and Odunze, like they all could have been number ones for Washington. Like
people forgot
right.
about Troy Franklin as well, which is crazy.
Right. So
I think that was well. I'm going to get to that mine. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. That's fine. And so I think that ultimately they definitely got their money's worth. And then I'm gonna, whether you like it or not, whether you like the team or not, whether you like this guy or not, I think the Minnesota Vikings had a hell of a draft for what they got. Dallas Turner at 17, getting the quarterback of the future and JJ McCarthy with what they already had. I mean, you get Kyrie Jackson, who's a long corner at 6'4", 205 pounds, and you add him to what they already had on that back end. I mean, it gets nasty once you start to look at it. They added Grenard, and I mean the offseason for them and Kwesi over there in Minnesota. I think they did a hell of a job over there. And then, like I said, I'm gonna go with the team that I thought nailed the draft with just the most consistent. Like it's just a status quo. Honorable mention here, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just kept it status quo here. Right, offensive line. They attacked the offensive line. They needed it. They attacked the some weapons. Right, they got Roman Wilson, who's a willing blocker. He just kind of fits that gritty, nasty, wide that kind of Hines Ward. I want to go do this because it's what I'm paid to do, kind of thing. I think they did a hell of a job.
Yeah, I will piggyback that, and I will say because when they took Fontanu as their number one pick, I was talking about it on a Pitchfork Lunch, non-shameless plug, in the fall before the Devils went to Washington, and somehow the only team that Michael Penix Jr. and Rome Odunze did not hook up for a touchdown. Thank you very much. But Fontanu, like Michael Penix Jr., halfway through the season this year, I was looking it up. He took it was something like over almost 900 and some odd dropbacks. I had it in my notes for my show. He was sacked 9 times. That offensive line didn't touch him. People say, "Oh, well, you call holding." No, they got called for their. I won't say they weren't crazy penalized, but the Steelers, and that's why I showed Jamari saying had the best draft, for what they needed. And look, they're and he's right. I mean, the Steelers are always going to be gritty. And that's one thing when you look at it, you take a guard, you take Zach Frazier, center out of West Virginia, you get Roman Wilson out of Michigan in the 3rd round. I was like, that's very interesting. And then, I'm interested to see, I will say this, because, playing at Texas, what Ryan Watts can do for Pittsburgh. That's one of my teams. And the other team, we're talking about pairing guys up, and I mean, Will led into it, but I mean, you take Bo Nix, and I mean, look, Sean Payton, Bo Nix leaving Auburn, and again, I'd like to take my shots on the SEC. Everybody knows that, but look, he was a legacy leaving Auburn, getting with Kenny Dillingham and Dan Lanning, but just getting offense with Kenny Dillingham, just kind of getting out of there. I mean, over 70% of your passes, you're leading Division I, but then you get Troy Franklin in the 3rd round as a receiver. And people say, well, you had Jerry Jeudy. Look, Jerry Jeudy, I think, is going to do very well in Cleveland. I'm not ripping on it. Look, Denver wasn't a scene. Yeah, he got banged up. The quarterback circle, it was a mess. Last year, he probably was fed up with, the whole Sean Payton and that. But you tell me that you're going to take Bo Nix and take one of his top targets that he, in the last 2 years, having seen them up close and personal, that offensive.
And then you pair him with his center from last year, the center who snapped the ball to him at Oregon. So they did a hell of a job too.
Yeah, I mean, and look, okay, and it's not just because it's Pac-12. I wanted my player is Devon Vele, the kid out of Utah.
Yeah,
that's a receiver. People see receivers, and it's okay. No, he's not running a 4.2, but he's not slow. I mean, his pattern, it comes down. People say, well, and when you always say, the guy, he can get open on the playground, those things, if it breaks down and it's a scramble drill. But when are you learning to cut off your patterns? Where are you coming in? Like Devon Vele, like to me, that's a 6th round gem. And yeah, I mean, he'll probably be playing some special teams as well too. But yeah, Devon Vele, and even though it's both on Denver, Troy Franklin, I'm looking forward to that with what Sean Payton, I believe, and we've seen is capable of doing. And then the Steelers definitely to me, and of course, you already said it, Cortland, but I'm not getting out of here. The Cowboys, and then I guess if I had to go 2C or like I say 2F for fail, I'd have to go for Philly because we talked about that. I love what they did for their draft. Real quick,
I'm sorry, just one more thing. I'm just going back over this Pittsburgh draft class again. So I'm looking at it. Troy Fautanu, right? They have him listed as a guard. I think he plays tackle at the next level. I didn't realize this. Not only did you get Zach Frazier out of West Virginia to play one guard position, you got Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State to play the other guard position, and he's a stud. Like this, I mean, this draft, and then Peyton Wilson, who's a guy who a lot of people felt like was a second-round draft pick.
T.J. Watt, and Alex Highsmith are gonna have so much fun.
And then, I mean, they just added Patrick Queen, so you're gonna have a lot of speed on that defense. Like I said, man.
Well, you can thank. And look, I thought Patrick Queen was very talented coming out. I thought a lot was put on him because, and as should be as a linebacker, they wanted him to be that guy. But once Roquan Smith got traded, I'm not calling Roquan Smith Aaron Donald, but it's like the Aaron Donald effect, Cortland. Roquan Smith got Patrick Queen paid. It's crazy that it's in the same division. And look, Patrick Queen is uber talented. And I think playing next to a guy like Roquan and understanding like, oh, okay, when you're in film together with somebody like that, coaches and Roquan and what he can do on the field and keeping his space, like the Bears are. Look, I always hated to pile on, but I said this when it happened. The Bears are idiots for not paying that man.
Yeah, they should have paid him, man.
You could have paid him. But real quick before we get out of here, I said we might sprinkle in NBA. No, I'm just going to sprinkle in scores. So the Lakers right now are up 56-50 on the Nuggets. There's 10:53 left in the third, so the Lakers will lose. And they'll go home. And then the Celtics trashed the Miami Heat. Now, John Shearer, I didn't see you in the comments.
John, what happened, man? I thought you guys
but the Heat did get one game, so they didn't win 4. So 102-88. And then the Thunder get the sweep. And Cortland, I think you were on last time when we were talking about this when you and Mike were on. We just brought up basketball real quick, and I said, remember, I'm tired of hearing yes, I get it. Teams need to learn how to win, but they've been smacking people all year, just like Minnesota sweeping Phoenix. Hey, John, I'm right here. Yes, Jamari, Celtics, they good. But I'm right here. Like the Timberwolves swept the Suns. Like it isn't excusable, but guess what? You don't play the word defense all season long, but then you don't do it in the playoffs and get stops, you're done in for. So
I think the Celtics go far in this draft. I'm sorry, I said draft.
Playoffs.
In the playoffs because they got over their boogeyman. The Heat have been their boogeyman the last 2 or 3 years, and they got over it now.
Right, exactly. Well, Jamari, you can say book it all you want. Minnesota ain't beating Denver. Not happening. I'm not talking on both sides of my mouth. I do think Minnesota's a team, and I think they're on the up and up. Sorry, man.
I think Ant-Man got another 2 years before he can beat that Denver team by itself. But
and look, you got with Karl Anthony Towns, they got a good young core. I'm not disagreeing with what Jamari's thinking, but yeah, if we're having this conversation in 2 years, Jamari, and then maybe. But look, yes, again, that's why they roll the ball and play. It can happen. I'm going to say book it. No way they beat Denver. But those are the scores, and then so the Thunder, Oklahoma City, they advance, and they are. They're headed to the second round. So they beat the Pelicans in 4. And then this pains me. Shout out to the, of course, unfortunately in hockey, the Rangers swept the Caps. So for my disgusting Rangers fans there's your shout out. That's not much of a shout out, but that's all they get. So, Will, thank you so much. Cortland, obviously, guys, thank you so much for jumping on. We are going to get out of here. We will see everybody next Monday. Hopefully Eric's back, because then Eric will probably add more to what Cortland so graciously described in the Eagles draft. I may have not been as loquacious, but I didn't want to be. So that's just that. But we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday night, and we shall see you next week here on the Sports Arena.